Hello everyone, good morning, and thank you for joining us in our event. This event is called the ESG Reporting Revolution, a new tune for sustainability. Now introducing Christine Gilles-White, Interim CEO of the Global Reporting Initiative.
Can you hear me? Hi, thank you for being here today, and thank you, Global Compact Portugal, for inviting me to speak with you this morning. Who here knows the Global Reporting Initiative? Okay, a few hands, that's great, but for those who don't know us, let me provide an overview of who we are. I'm going to speak today about who we are, the Global Reporting Initiative, what our standards are about, how we enable smart policy, how we support reporters, and of course how we can stay connected. I don't know if I'm too loud on this microphone. This is a new system for me. Okay, good. The Global Reporting Initiative is an international organization that has been developing the common language for sustainability reporting for 27 years now. So we're kind of young, kind of old. We help businesses, but also other organizations to understand first and then communicate their impacts on the environment, on people, and the economy. We provide the GRI standards, which are the world's most widely adopted sustainability reporting framework. And our standards are free and public good. We get about 1 million downloads of our standards from our website every year. So let me dive a little bit deeper into the topic. What are our focus areas? To have world-class standards to be able to report on these sustainability topics, to drive the adoption of sustainability reporting around the world, to improve the quality of reporting, but also unleash the practices that come after understanding those impacts and reporting, and support full public access to sustainability disclosures. Today, around 80% of the largest 250 companies use GRI for their sustainability reports. 14,000 companies, more or less, report with GRI around the world, report with GRI every year. We have between 450 and 500 members of the GRI community. We have around 300 policies that reference or endorse GRI in over 100 countries. 1,500 people have become GRI certified professionals. The downloads that I told you about the standards, and we also have a very, aside from the certified GRI certified professionals, our education program trains over 10,000 people a year. Around 6,600 through our certified training partners that we have in almost 60 countries, and 3,300 more or less, a little bit more, through the GRI Academy, which is fully online. And there are 100 plus companies, certified software partners and tools that have integrated the GRI standards to help those companies report on sustainability. So there's 100 of those and growing around the world. So one of the beauties of how GRI is structured as a standard setter, we're fully independent, so no donor can influence the content and the process of a standard. We have a governance where we have a Global Sustainability Standards Board, but we also have a supervisory board. And the Global Sustainability Standards Board is the one that determines when and how a topic standard or a sector standard will be developed. And they're the ones that approve the content. They verify that the content and development goes according to process, and they finally rubber stamp the standard, whether it's new or it's an updated standard. And there is no way the rest of the organization, supervisory board, or employees can influence the quality or the content of that standard. That makes us completely independent. So they're, a sector that may want to, tweak a standard in their benefit, etc. That can't happen, and that is something that gives the credibility that GRI has today. And it also has to do with our funding sources. More than half of our funding comes from our own generated revenue, right? Licensing partners, GRI community members, report services. Many of you may have used our report services or members of the community, and of course the people we train through the GRI Academy. And I love to say those areas drive impact, drive quality reporting, and they're self-sustainable and have some spillover effect on the rest of GRI as well. So the standards, as I mentioned, they're integrated into policy. They have a modular and flexible, future-proof, shape. So some standards, they're 8 years old and they're still quite relevant to sustainability reporters. Others, as we see, as the GSSB sees that they need to be updated, we are updating. For instance, this year we released our new biodiversity standard that will go into effect in 2026, and it's a very good tool to achieve Target 15, for instance, of the Global Biodiversity Framework. In April next year, we will release our new climate standard. It's called the Climate and Just Transition Standard, and that is the key differentiator of our standard. It includes the just transition. It understands the importance of the social impacts of every decision we make, of the impacts of greenhouse gas emissions and all the changes we might be making in terms to mitigate and adapt to mitigate climate change and adapt to climate change. It also includes transition plans, adaptation plans, carbon credits, removals, and how to achieve goals. So it is a very comprehensive standard. It's not fully ready, but the draft is available online. As I said earlier, we have created this common global language on how to communicate impacts on the environment, society, and the economy. And given our governance, given the talent of the people who work at GRI, but more importantly, the fact that we're multi-stakeholder, and it's not GRI staff who develop standards, but it's experts from around the world that come together and help us develop the standards, that we have that credibility and robustness. So this is the approach we have as GRI, right? These are the 5 stakeholder groups that always participate in developing our standards. Our standards take to be developed between 18 months and 2 years, and we always have members from these 5 stakeholder groups, whether it's a working group or a technical group that are developing the standard. And I mentioned before, they're modular. We have 3 universal standards, 32 topic standards, and we have 4 or 5 sector standards that have been released. So coal, oil and gas, and agriculture, aquaculture, and fisheries. They have already gone into effect. We released last year our mining standard. It hasn't gone into effect. Obviously, if a company is ready and wants to adopt it, as an early adopter, that's always available, but we understand that newly released standards have elements that maybe organizations are still not ready to report on, so we release them with time so that these organizations are able to make the adjustments to capture the data and so forth, to be able to report when it goes into effect. And the fact that when a standard goes into effect or not has to do with whether you can claim to be reporting with reference or in accordance to GRI. We're working on 3 sector standards, 3 economic sector standards right now, and also on textile and apparel sector standards. There are 40 sector standards on the pipeline that we're developing, so more to come. And as I said, our standards are a free and public good, and they're always available in 11 languages. So that also shows the global and multi-stakeholder nature of GRI. What are our reporting principles? Well, impact to be based on material topics. Companies, when you start this sustainability journey and the reporting process, it's really important to do a materiality assessment, right? It's not about reporting on all the standards that are out there. And maybe there might be a material topic that is not within the suite of the GRI standards, and that company still should report on that topic, because whatever is material to the business of the company, to the stakeholders it is affecting, the exercise is to actually disclose that information. Another key concept is the due diligence and obviously the stakeholder nature. And our reporting principles are right there: accuracy, balance, clarity, comparability, completeness, sustainability, context, timeliness, and verifiability. Whomever has read our standards will have come across these elements when you read them and when you comply with them. Reporting with the GRI standards means that you need to understand the elements, that you identify those impacts, and that you determine material topics, and then that you adopt our methodology and you publish a content index. I see many sustainability reports over 200 pages, sometimes 300 pages, and that's great. But it's not necessary, provided that the organization produces a content index, and the content index takes that reader to where that information is. It does not need to be in that yearly sustainability report. And in my previous company, I think we produced, the last report was like 25 pages, and it was a crazy demand coming from the top, but we were able to achieve it, and we complied with GRI. So there are ways to make, and you don't have to go all the way down to 25 pages, that's probably extreme, but there are ways to comply with GRI without having to produce these gigantic reports that when I was a chief sustainability officer, I used to joke when somebody told me that they read the sustainability report, I said, oh, we now have 5 readers. And it's kind of true. Nobody reads the report from front all the way to the back except the preparers, I guess. We kind of scan the reports. Even investors, they scan the information they need. Employees scan the information they need, and that's fine. It's a consultation material. And that's how we should think about sustainability reports. That doesn't mean it shouldn't have great English language and narrative, because it's also a great way to convey the strategy of the company, and also to communicate where we have fallen short, in terms of achieving those objectives. GRI understands the landscape has evolved, and we celebrate that the landscape has evolved. There are many other frameworks out there, disclosure platforms and standard setters, and we're continuously talking with these organizations. We're signing MOUs with all of them. I think most that you see here, we have an MOU or an agreement in some shape or form. We even then do addendums to bring those collaborations closer, and our standards boards are also in continuous communication. And the aim is to, not only achieve interoperability, maybe go beyond interoperability at some point, to having common disclosures using the same nomenclature, as my friend, the CEO of CDP, Sherry Madera, was saying, report once, right, and use many. And if we can get to that point, that would be amazing, right? That you get your greenhouse gas emissions inventory, and you're able to comply with a number of standard setters. And of course, there are different frameworks because they're for different use, and that's great. And it's just maybe presenting information, slice it and dice it in different ways. But the idea is that you don't have to do more effort than you should as a reporter. And in terms of policy, we continuously work with governments and international bodies to make sure that sustainability issues are considered in the global policy. And we connect, as I said, with other initiatives and frameworks. And one thing that is very important to understand about GRI standards, they're not crafted from a void. It's not like we convened that working group and they just, it's blue sky. What should we do? What should we report on this topic? There's a lot of research that our teams provide, a lot of information that our teams provide to these working groups, but we also look at these international commitments, frameworks, legislation, etc., and see how the standards help feed into that and comply with those requirements. So for multinationals working, across many borders, GRI standards are actually quite useful. And also, the financial markets have been using GRI for a very long time, whether it's investors directly, but also rating agencies and government. Sometimes, disclosing certain information, you might be able to win a tender or not. So here's a little bit of how GRI has been, showcased in different markets and market regulators around the world. And let me dive a little bit more into the practical side of things. And I mentioned it earlier. GRI not only produces standards, but we care about how the standards are adopted and how we can support these organizations, whether it's a government agency, a nonprofit, or corporate reporters, which are the bulk, I guess, of our biggest users, but also how you interpret that information. So we provide training through the GRI Academy and our certified training partners, over 10,000 people a year, as I said. For instance, every new standard, we're developing trainings around that standard, but we are also more and more understanding the journey of the reporter. So we're producing materials that are not necessarily tied to the GRI standard or only tied to GRI standards. We have an assurance course, for instance, that we released last year. We have a landscape course for those people who are new to sustainability reporting to understand what are all these different frameworks, where do they come from, what are the SDGs, why do companies do sustainability reporting, who are the other players in the landscape, how has the sustainability reporting space evolved over time. We're now developing, for instance, an ESRS certification, right, to comply with CSRD. The first 3 modules have been released. It's going to be 6 modules, and at the end there will be a certification exam, just like you become a GRI certified professional. And more we're collaborating with TNFD also to do training, and that's the spirit of GRI. We celebrate this transparency and impacts, and we collaborate with all of the players in the landscape. We have another service called Report Services that reviews the correct use of our standards and the context index, and if the company, and it provides feedback to the company if it's not fully aligned, and then once the report has all the characteristics, we give that banner of our service banner. We also have this partnership with a number of companies. I don't maybe shouldn't name them, because then I'll name a few and not the 100 partners. But anybody who uses software tools for reporting must know them. Many of the most prominent names in the world are already partners, licensing partners of GRI, and the GRI community, where more and more we're workshopping reporting. It's a great space to incubate best practices in reporting, to pilot our new standards, to learn about sustainability reporting, and also to network with peers. My experience as a sustainability professional before coming back to the nonprofit space is that in sustainability you will learn more from your peers than from any book or any webinar or any conference. So I feel that GRI community is this fantastic space for sustainability reporters to come together and learn from each other. So without much further information, I'm happy to take any questions and give the space for the panel after me.
Thank you so much, Cristina, for your intervention. I don't know if there are any questions from the audience. One question here.
So thank you for the presentation. Should I take this off? No. Thank you for the presentation, and very interesting. We are also working within expert groups and at United Nations level.
What company are you from? Sorry.
I'm National Laboratory of Energy and Geology of Portugal.
Oh, nice.
Teresa Ponce de Leão.
Mm-hmm.
And one one of the problems we see with this kind of reporting, with standards, we also developed the United Nations Resource Management System, which tries to go in the same way. Maybe this is more developed, but how do you guarantee that we do not have greenwashing in the middle of the process, in the middle of the value chains?
So we're a standard setter. We're not judges, and it's very important not to be judge and party. That's when you might lose the credibility. If I was then saying who's a greenwasher, who not, then we might be seen with a different credibility, right? Because then you're maybe making profit out of that opinion. So it's always tricky to be judge and party. I always say that the best way to avoid greenwashing is first not to want to greenwash, right? But sometimes you greenwash unintentionally, or you purpose wash unintentionally. Companies do that because there's internal pressure, because the systems aren't in place for a number of reasons. So I think a great tool to prevent those practices is to actually conduct an assurance of your sustainability data, and conduct it with an assurer that you ask them to actually scrutinize the data, to actually find mistakes, and to be tough on you. Just like financial audits, auditors can be asked not to look into things, or they can be asked to really help you, right? So I think assurance is a great practice. A good materiality assessment also helps, because another way to greenwash is to, take out the material topics that you don't feel it would be so good to report on, and report on others. That's what a lot of what happened in the sustainability reporting space before GRI came along, because people, chose and picked what would be nice, and they spoke about the charity down the street they were supporting, or things like that, which is great, right? But you need to think about your own business activity when you're thinking about sustainability. So I think those two approaches are important, but more, the true authority to oversee greenwashing is society, is consumers, and it's the governments. And if I would love them to use our standards to see and verify, because our standards are quite robust, they're quite comprehensive, and they can be a great tool to then see whether the reporting practices are on quality. But it's a concern we all have. None of us like greenwashing, I guess.
We are trying to use AI, for instance, blockchain.
Fantastic. And there are watchdogs out there. There are journalists that are continuously looking at things, and so fantastic. Would love to learn more about that. Yeah.
We have to move on to our next panel because we have limited time, sorry. But thank you once again, Christina, for your presentation, really insightful. And if you have any further questions, please contact the email that you see on the screen. And yeah, we'll now move forward to our panel. Yeah, round of applause for Christina. Thank you so much once again. So let me introduce our panelists. We have Paula Viegas, Chief Sustainability Officer at Banco Montepio. Haimeng Zhang, Vice President and Chief Sustainability Officer at Longi Green Energy Technology. Pedro Ávila, Head of Sustainability at Redes Energéticas Nacionais. And moderating this panel is Anabela Ribeiro, Executive Director of the UN Global Compact Network, Portugal.
Hello. Well, let me try to see you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I cannot hear you, so have to, yeah. Thank you. Well, I know you have time because we are a little late, so maybe I will start with you. And what we would like to ask you is, I'm having troubles with my with my questions, but what we'd like to know is, well, you are a Chinese company, as we know. You have operations in over 50 countries, and well, I believe you have challenges with the European directives and all of that. So please tell us, how do you deal as a company with all of these regulations that are not in your part of the world, but if you work with all these countries, how do you deal with that?
Well, Annabelle, thank you for the question. So my name is Haimeng. I'm a Chief Sustainability Officer of Longi. So Longi is the world's largest solar technology company. And we also are entering into the business of green hydrogen. So we are based in China, but we are also a global company. Half of our revenue and business actually come from outside of China. So we operate in, as you said, more than 50 countries. Starting 3 years ago, we start to release our annual sustainability report. It is not required. We're listed in the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Can you hear? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Parts of it.
So it's not required by the stock exchange, although there will be requirement coming. So to your question, we use international standard for our disclosure. So GRI, as just mentioned, and going forward, also we'll use CSRD Europe for our Europe-based customers and stakeholders. It is not easy. We're still learning about it, and not all the standards and disclosure requirements are fully compatible with each other. So we're going through that process of what to disclose and how do we comply. And also ESG rating is another story. So all the rating standards are not fully overlapping. So for us, we build a data platform to say we have one source of truth within our company, and then we slice and dice the information for different disclosure and reporting purpose to make sure that
you gather data from all the operations?
From all our operations, supply
into
chain, our own
okay.
internal operation, labor and human resource operations, to put them in one place. So that's now being built.
Okay.
So we started to build this year. We're getting some good progress. So we hope to make it just in time for all the international disclosure requirements.
Okay. Well, since you have to leave, I would like to ask you a final question. What do you think? Why did you felt the need to start reporting? Because you started in 2018, if I'm correct. So, why did your company felt the need to report?
We have a very global customer base,
Okay.
and we determined. One of the ideas our founder has is to build a company that not just provide a technology that clean up the world, the decarbonization, but also the operation itself need to be clean, right? So we have the solar for solar kind of ideal. But when we communicate to our customers, particularly outside of China, they were asking, well, how do you demonstrate? How do you prove that your idea is carried out in your operations? So we start to just put out the report out there, starting a few years back, as you said, not using any standards, right? So we're just saying, well, this is just what we did. The renewable energy used in our production and supply base, labor, and all that. But then over time, we got the feedback from our customers and saying, well, we want you to. It's good that you are releasing those information, maybe ahead of your peers, but we want it to also to be structured in a way that we understand and can trust. So it's not your voluntary release of information to your interest, right? So it also addressed our requirements of what we need to know, right? So we started to comply with the standard and that has become a profession
Okay.
in our company. So I now lead a team that's dedicated to that information. And we have a working office that built that database and also pulled the different part of the organization together to make
Okay.
sure that we have the integrity of data on time. Yeah.
Okay, very well. Well, and just to finish, just a quick question about what do you expect from this COP?
What I expect from this COP. This COP, I understand, is about financing.
Yes.
And solar has already been the cheapest form of energy. So in that sense, it does not need a whole lot of climate financing, so to speak. It's fully bankable. But our other business, for example, green hydrogen, still is not entirely bankable in most parts of the world. So I want to make sure that the world is working together to provide more options and ways to channel the fund into the climate technologies. That some of those haven't reached that parity point yet, but in terms of carbon market, carbon pricing, and how do you actually use that to enable and kickstart some of the projects, particularly in the area of hard to abate industries using hydrogen, that could create new avenues for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Haimeng, and
Well, thank you,
and thank
Annabella.
you for
You know,
participating.
very kind of
and
you.
good luck.
Yeah, thank you. I apologize. I have to run to a media interview. So
Yes.
thank you.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm sorry, but it was just to be coming forward. Okay. Thank you. So, starting with Paula. You are very experienced in the reporting in the financial sector, but I believe that the new reporting directive is still a challenge. Can you elaborate a little bit on this, please?
Hello again. Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here and talking about reporting. Yes, the new framework, especially the regulation from the European Union, is quite challenging, yes. But I think we need to look into it not in a panical way, because either we comply or explain. I think this is a very good standard in our mindset that we should keep. Comply or explain. We don't need to fulfill everything at the moment. We need to make our journey, and step by step we'll achieve some of the criteria that are meant to be fulfilled. But this is a journey, really. We cannot. This is the transition era we're dealing with.
Is there a topic that it's most challenging than the others?
It's the risk, the management, risk management regarding the ESG criteria. And when you talk about environmental and climate risk, you have to set up scenarios. Sorry, pardon. Long-term scenarios, physical approaches, and lots of tough criteria that used not to be inside of the financial agenda and business. But social issues are quite challenging as
Okay.
well.
We will get back to the
yeah.
social issues in a minute. Pedro, thank you. We were talking, Paulo was talking about risk, and most of the reporting that we have seen in the past few years is a lot about the company performance over the past year, and not so much about what are we doing as a company to deal with all the risk exposure in the operations. So how do you do it in REN, and how are you dealing with all of this ESG risk exposure? Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to stay here and the contribution of RAN. Um, I think first we need to have a commitment to the future, and when we have it, we can align all of the organization with this, not only at the board level, but all of the level of the organization. So in Capital Markets Day of the 2022, we will increase our targets, not only on the reduction of GHG emissions, but in green bonds and social pylon that we have it. So
Green financing, right?
green financing, yes. So what we need to do, we need to involve all of the areas, because the technical areas need and should to have more awareness of these topics.
Okay.
We have internal initiatives, then we can account what is the impact of these initiatives, and we need to put KPIs of the people, because if the people feel comfortable and understanding and awareness what is the ESG, it's more easier to put into alignment all of the organization.
But
Not
you did more than that, right? Because you created KPIs associated with their objectives, but also with their the payment, right? With their remuneration.
Yes, yes. On the ESG, we have 15% of the board level are assignment to this, and we have four things about this. We have the commitment of GHG emissions reductions. We have another that is the rating performance, to compare to other peers. That is, for us, it's very important to keep the capital and to reduce, to have a green on this capital. We have the gender equality, that is another hot topic, and health and safety. So we align our variable remuneration to ESG targets. That is very accountable for the organization.
Wow. Congratulations on that, because that's the key to drive this agenda forward. Well, Paula, I would like to go back to that topic that you were referring, because within the environmental agenda we have a lot of quantitative information, but it's not so easy to measure the impact on the social side within, if it's internal or external. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, because for the first time, Bank Montpellier and regarding our industry, we measured our social impact and we published it in our sustainability report 2023. What we did is, because there isn't a single framework that underlines a social impact measurement, we choose to base our methodology on the theory of change.
Okay.
So we choose three main topics, and that goes with financing housing, financing for health and entrepreneurship, and other social issues, and financing the social economy. And Banco Montpellier is very strong on the social economy. We own almost 27% of share of market of those charities, not exactly charities, that are only compelled to drive social value. So on these three pillars, we have built our approach to social impact, and we have KPIs, and we are measuring them. And when we talk about data concerning social impact and social performance, on the in-house approach, we have all the indicators that are connected with human resources management, gender parity.
Yeah. Internally, it's a bit easier,
Yes,
right?
the ones that we all commonly report. But when you go to the market, especially as a bank, we have to understand what's the impact that we are delivering when we finance certain clusters of communities
Society,
and the society. And regarding housing, and that's a hot issue in Portugal at the moment. I believe in Europe, but in Portugal, amongst the youngsters as well, we need to understand what is the share of clients, new clients, what kind of house they are buying inside all the wallet of mortgage that we're having. And what we understood is that we are having a social impact that is a bit higher than we expected.
Oh.
Yes, among the youngsters,
Okay.
and also delivering to low-income families.
Okay.
And again, areas that are that have not a lot of population, so they need to rebuild communities. So when we get to understand that we are delivering value this way, when we deliver value, we can measure impact.
Yeah.
But social issues are quite challenging.
Quite challenging,
Yes,
right.
yes.
Well, talking a little bit about due diligence and the supply chain, because reporting is a little bit about that also. How do you drive the performance of your suppliers and contractors and all of that? Because in your sector, you rely on those kind of companies to perform the operations. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, for us the supply chain is a very hot topic.
Hot topic, yeah.
We perform our 300 millions of euros of our annual capex, most of them to have main contractors. So we have a very robust strategy to involve the value chain. We launched this year the Sustainability Academy to the suppliers.
Okay.
We carried out the first two editions, and it is very important because we explain all of the topics, like what is the scopes, what is SBTI, the importance of SBTI, the importance of have standards of performance, the first sustainability report, even though they are not to publish external, and calculate all of the carbon footprint, because if they calculate, they know and they can achieve different targets on that. So we started to collect the first primary data on scope 3. We will finish this year, and we have our internal KPI to have more than 50% of our data, it's primary data. And we provide from the scratch roadmap for decarbonization, and we explain our pathway.
Okay.
With a white paper. We explain what we have done. We explain how they can do it, and we are working hand by hand with these suppliers because we need them. And we say that not very far, it's like a license to operate.
Yeah.
So they need
It
to
is.
and to have have this type of the expertise to have a good performance, and the tenders in future will address this type of topics.
As a requirement, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And how was the engagement from their part? Difficult at first? No?
No, because we started 3 years ago. We started to put in a very high level meetings to explain the targets,
Okay.
and we just achieve our targets if we have aligned our supply chain. So they need not only for REN, but to provide this type of competencies with international tenders.
course.
So they look at us like a help in this process.
Okay. Thank you very much. We
Thank
are
you.
out of time, so thank you to our panelists and thank you all.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Só tens meia hora.
Vamos fazer na entrevista a pergunta do impacto. Eu gostava
O impacto social.
a pergunta dos resultados
Sim, pode deixar aqui.
espera desta COP.